What's up, guys? Ben up here from Not Even. Oh my god, it's been so long. I mean, by so long, it's pretty much been a day since we played World and Economica. Now, I hope you guys liked that intro that was just before this. That was actually going to go up in the first video, just kind of forgot. Plus, I didn't say it in like the first video, so it was like, don't matter. So, yeah. Just gonna click out of that. Okay, now we're back. Now, load that one. Go. That one. Alright. So this is continuing on what we're up to yesterday, basically. Damn it. Okay, and without a moment's hesitation, I kicked off the floor, jumping as high as I could, passing over the concrete wall. My body flew over the street. Why? Because the cafe was on the 5th floor of the building. There was a heck of a view below me. I jumped towards the wall of the building opposite me, and then kicked off from that wall, aiming back towards the wall of the first building. Press the button, god damn it. Once the sole of my foot hit a pipe on the wall, I jumped straight up with all my strength and resolve. Human genes had been fine-tuned for living on Earth over millions of years, so with some weight training, anyone could perform feats like this on the moon, where the gravity was lower. What you couldn't do was allow yourself to miss your daily training. Jumping from wall to wall, I quickly reached the 14th floor of the building next door. I guess my heart rate did go up a bit. I glanced down to see a pair of blue uniformed policemen looking at us bored as they tapped their batons on their shoulders and climbed the stairs. It seemed that clerk wasn't playing a prank on me when he gave me that tip. I repaid my thanks to him when I handed him that money though. By now he should be probably have used all the change from it to kick back with a store-bought beer. For a moment I opened my bag in the hallway and then flipped over my PC screen. I ran off in the middle of the trade, so my position hadn't changed. It shouldn't be able to get at least a weak wireless connection out here. I should be able to get at least a week. Yeah, okay. If I was lucky, prices would have risen and I would be home free, but usually at times like this, figures. After running ahead in disappointment, I closed out my losing positions and called it a day. I pressed the button. It's gone dark. Wow, flash. Nothing could come from wandering around downtown in the middle of the day. After jumping from one building to the next, I decided to walk down a deserted hallway towards my favorite Chinese restaurant. It was the time of day where most people my age would be at school, so walking around carelessly would get you chased down by the cops before you knew it. Until you turned 18, the legal age here, it was mandatory that you belonged in some sort of educational institution. Some people would say it was a good thing, while others grumbled about government-funded programs. I fell into neither camp. My way of dealing with systems I didn't like was to quietly escape them, not to loudly criticize them. Is that a shower? My hair's like all weird. On that note, this area with all these complicated passages and extreme elevation changes, it's not odd to see the 7th floor on one building to the next, to the basement of another, was convenient for people like me. Okay. Not to mention the overgrown vegetation here, and there that acted as good cover. These plants were originally included in the city plans, but had leaked out of one of the many lunar laboratories where they were messing with their genes. Turn off their heater. Supposedly, genes had tons of factors that expressed themselves differently depending on the environment. So a lot of plants and animals started acting strangely as soon as they were brought to the moon. There were even people saying that life forms on Earth could have originated from outer space and brought to Earth via the moon. Some of these plants grew so well in the moon's inorganic matter that you might wonder if they had been around there for a million years. Of course, it hadn't been. Of course, it wasn't as if these plants were free from the laws of physics. Nitrogen and other nutrients for them were often brought over here from Earth. So I hadn't heard about any worries of the surface of the moon would be taken over by greenery. This applied to more than just plants. As for the humans here, it didn't matter how many ultra-elite think tanks came to energize the lunar economy and its industries. Life here wasn't just sustainable without sending a lot of things over from Earth. According from the government's statements, even if the orbital elevator were to stop moving today, there was currently enough biomass here to create an enclosed recycling-based environment. In other words, we'd be able to eat food, crap it out, then use crap to grow more food and eat, and so on. So they would be able to make a ton of electricity with solar panels while collecting direct sunlight to use as a super hot source of heat. So maybe they're right. I mean, people even say that Earth was in more danger environmentally since they were still relying on oil and nuclear power. I didn't know who was right. Whatever the case, I had dreams, and if it meant by making my dreams come true, I didn't care if I was on Earth or on the moon. After all, my dream was to stand at the forefront of humanity. I'd be at a place where you could only look forward to live by advancing onward. Who cared about what happened to the world behind you? And if I couldn't make this dream come true, then there would be no reason for me to live. That's why, to put it logically, I'd never wondered a single bit about the moon's environment, or whatever. What I worried about was how much money I made and how fast I reached my goals. While I was thinking about these things, I passed through the thickly vegetated tunnel towards high ground. Best transition ever. It was a clear day, or as it always was. On the other side of the translucent membrane, the visible half of the mist-covered Earth looked small. The sky over the lunar city was wrapped in a see-through dome, and right beyond it was outer space. Gravity was weak on the moon, so you couldn't naturally keep up large amount of gases stored up on the surface. Also, while apparently each 24-hour on the Earth had a morning, afternoon and night, which allowed the next day by another morning, the moon alternated between 2 weekdays and 2 weeknights. However, the human body cycle was set differently thanks to tens of thousands of years of living on Earth. Because most of them living on the moon were immigrants from Earth, its dome was adjusted to give off light in an Earth-like way. It even had sprinklers attached so that it would rain. However, I'd only seen these things like downpours and thunderstorms in videos. When it rained here, it was always just like a drizzle. Strong winds never blew here. The only winds felt here were the slow cooling movement of the atmosphere due to the centrifugal or Coriolis forces, as well as the gentle breeze of the air inside the dome being mechanically circulated. I strayed from the street onto a grass-covered cliff and jumped outwards with a grunt. I kicked off a tree branch and rotated my body to land on the top of a tunnel. This was a box seat where you could look down from the greater part of this city. Hey, there's my thumbnail from the first video. Yeah. I grabbed some beef jerky out of my bag and bit into it. According to the guys who came from Earth, this wasn't at all as close to the real thing, but it's only the beef jerky I knew. There were a number of cities on the moon. The one I lived in was the very first city to be created, and I could get a clear view of the whole thing from here. The spot in front of me were pointless skyscrapers sprung upward one after the other was called Newton City. It was like like entry was regulated. However, it felt like however it had the feel of a special zone where only certain people could enter, since it was full of giant corporate buildings. Even public places like shopping malls and parks were overrun with police and city regulations. Most wealth here was created in Newton City, and you could find famous tycoons with assets worth over 10 billion malls all over the place. If you had that much wealth, you would undoubtedly be able to be on the forefront of when humanity took its next step. Money could make could make just about any desire you might have in this world come true. Just give me a second. Skype, go away. In this world, money ruled all. Like a photograph of the moment a drop of liquid hit a pool of water. A group of skyscrapers stood in the dead center of Newton City, while the buildings around the area were suddenly much shorter. That area was where middle-class people worked in Newton City. Was called Green City, or the White Belt. It was a place full of people who live like words, who love words like high society and refinement, the kind of people who claimed to care about the grace and harmony, but were really full of nothing and pride and obsessions with upward mobility. Whenever I went there, I felt sick, seeing the sterilized rows of small, nicely manicured lawns and white-walled buildings. There wasn't a single piece of garbage on the streets, and the only plants around were domesticated trees on the roadside. After that, the buildings in the area around Green City got taller again, but it was more complete. But it was a complete jumble. Their power lines dangled messily around the street, and vulgar neon signs lit the area, painting the whole place with a feel of squalor. The whole area was called the outer sections, and while technically, oh my god, Skype, go away! Like, I can't hear it just because my computer's broken. I can't get sound out. Go away! I'm just gonna go offline. Offline. Oh god damn it! I've been. How do I go back? Whatever. On the east side of the village where I lived, that area was notorious for its hard-nosed residents. You could also find settlements of old-timers who might call artisans in the area, which made for a countless number of small workshops. Most people didn't have the luxury of being able to do something like transport wooden furniture via orbital elevator, and land was expensive on the moon, so the houses of Green City were small. As a result, handmade furniture created with the size and shape of your house in mind was far more popular than ready-made furniture. I was told my parents were aiming to live together with plants bought from Earth in exchange for making furniture for wood. For Mool, I think that might have said. Even though factories existed that used to be used for the best scientific advances to maximize harvest rates as much as physically possible, they still grew plants by hand for some reason. They seemed to at least have their customers, but I didn't see a single enjoyable thing about being covered in dirt. It's just made me wonder why they ever came to the moon in the first place. This wasn't a place for stuff like that. The moon wasn't supposed to be a place where you directed your gaze to the top of the inorganic buildings that line Newton City. Why are we talking about this stuff? As I shifted my eyes to the left, I saw an area haunted by those who couldn't keep up in that struggle. Here, when buildings started rustling, no one would bother to repaint them. No one would bother to repaint them. It had been nicknamed the Red Valley. Its reason it was called the Valley was because when Newton City was originally built on a flat crater floor, all the low-income owners made the Rocky Mountains surrounding the city their home. And by Rocky Mountains, I don't mean something like the harsh mountainous environments you might find on Earth. It was actually closer to what you might call highlands. As a result, the rock was chipped away to increase surface area, like river eroding hills, and many structures could be built in a tight area by terracing the slopes. Furthermore, more space was secured by digging caves into the rocky stretches. It was clear, evident that doing this over and over made for a mess of a city. Not much more than a decade had passed since the city's establishment, and had already become such a devilish haunt that wouldn't want to blame the local government if they just threw up their hands and gave up. As for me, I liked the Red Valley with its level of squalor. While it was true that the people living here would be called outcasts and failures, the place was irresponsible in a good way, and that put me at ease. Of course, I had no intentions of becoming the 20% that lived there, and finally the area around there that was called the sixth outer section. It was not as degenerate as the Red Valley, but not as quite as productive as the east side of town. This area didn't even have a nickname yet, and its word aspects oozed out at every turn. While the buildings were dirty and worn out, it was dotted with small companies who dreamed of Newton City and the occasional decent-looking house, so it wasn't the worst place to live. Smack over the head, I reckon. I stood up, hopped back down to the street, and jogged off. Oh, okay. I thought he got smacked over the head again or something. The road was paved with neatly shaved limestone rocks. It was chipped and cracked here and there, but no one ever tried to patch it. The rough dirt on the moon had piled up into its recesses. Waterways were occasionally visible, and in them you could see running water, as well as fish swimming. While hydrogen was available on the moon, there was no water. So once hydrogen had been synthesized into water, it was made sure every drop remained circulating within the dome. The waterway's final destination was a giant water processing plant under Newton City. In other words, everything was designed to gather up in the center of mortar-shaped city. Whether it's people, water, or wealth from there, everything was disseminated outward. Okay. After crossing intricate waterways and bridges, I passed through a narrow alley and reached my destination. It was called the Lunar Chinese Restaurant. It's run by a Chinese husband and wife with a strong spirit of enterprise who immigrated to the moon. I could sit down here from an early morning to whenever, and they wouldn't say a word. However, the elderly wife's health had been fading recently, and the woman who sometimes worked at the restaurant in their place was a bit of a pain. While I prayed that she wouldn't be there today, it was in vain, especially on an unlucky day, already full of policemen and stock losses. As I opened the frosted glass door, the woman watching the television, placed near the ceiling with her head resting on her arms, propped on the counter, lowered her glance listlessly. While I was overcome with the urge to shut the door and go to another store, the woman raised her voice before I got the chance. Table for one. What was that? Table for one. What do I even do? Table for one. The kitchen was run by the silent, stubborn, elderly husband of the family, so he never showed any signs of affection. Of course, no one came from the kitchen. Even so, it was late to leave, so I entered the store with a heavy gate and set up camp in a corner seat while mountains of hydrocarbons sat at the moon's poles. They still couldn't be used for luxuries such as making plastic. As a result, most of the store's equipment was made from either wood or iron. Both could be gathered on the moon and were easily decomposable by microbes, then thrown away. An iron cup was placed on my tattered wooden table, which was no doubt found in a dump somewhere. The woman, beaming then poured me a water from high up. The water seemed like it would splash out, but it all stayed in the now perfectly filled cup. You showed up, you showed up, you delinquent. Crab omelet over fried rice. Oh wait, that was my damn. That was the guy's voice. I made my order bluntly without a proper reply. The woman was about 20 years old and had bright, healthy hair. It's pink. Is that moon hair? Okay. She had been working there for a while and seemed to know a lot of the customers, so she'd probably lived in the area. One fried crab. The woman yelled cheerfully towards the kitchen, then off all the things she could have done. She sat down across from me, except her body was off to the side and her vision was fixed on the TV. She seemed interested in some plot point in the drama she was watching. I heard there was an actor in the air right now. Oh, I can't even do it. He's going to negotiate the next title and bask in the space at the time. What? A beautiful actress from here's accompanying him. I didn't ask, but she informed me anyway. I ended up glancing at the screen as I silently took my PC out of my bag. He's a little too handsome, though. While that might be true, I stifled my urge to reply with a "so what" as I placed my PC on the table and switched it on. The PC was loading up with financial information and charts of historical prices for 4,000 stocks on the Lunar Stock Exchange. In order to make a profit tomorrow, I had to find my next target. Oh! Want to use some of our power? I raised my glance after being asked a question and found my eyes meeting the woman's. She had beautiful shaped eyes. They were even brighter in colour than her hair. She must have led an easy life, I thought to myself. Nevertheless, it'd be helpful if I could use the restaurant's electricity, even if I decided to go back to that half-assed net cafe. The rates were cheaper at night. The problem was that my battery might not last until then. I silently took out my adapter and plugged it into the cord that the woman, still seated, had lazily dragged my way with her foot. As I hugged the ground in order to plug my adapter into the outlet, the woman mischievously twitched the toes in her sandals. Okay. Where'd that come from? You told me to do that. Perv! That was all she said to me once I raised my head. She wasn't even wearing a skirt. Naturally, I ignored it, then booted up my PC. After that, the woman stopped messing with me, and the only sounds in the restaurant was the filtering voices from the television and the swinging pots in the kitchen. This was a quiet area with much foot traffic, and it felt like time passed slowly there. The thing that made me go far out of my way to come here, other than the fact that they would report me to the cops was this tranquility. What did you eat? What did you eat yesterday? Well, it was pretty tranquil until the woman suddenly asked me a question. What did what I had yesterday have anything to do with you? I ignored her as I stared at my screen, but she wouldn't stop looking at me. Her face visible from the corner of my eye didn't make it look like she was particularly interested in the question, but she wouldn't turn away. Defeated, I raised my glance at the woman. I raised my glance, and at that moment she grinned. Pasta. I had pasty. I answered, and then turned back to my screen. I updated my data while I was in the cafe, so I searched for any corporate news that might affect the market in the next few days. From where? As I clicked my tongue, the woman's smile, as expected, disappeared. She didn't get mad or stand up though. That doesn't suit you, you know. She said this so seriously that instead of getting mad, I ended up blushing. She's treating me like a complete child. Big Bull Cafe. It was an arrogantly named place for a nearly illegal operation. You see, bulls were symbols of strong markets. For that reason, there are bronze bulls placed in front of the biggest financial districts in the world, like America's Wall Street or the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. As for me, the place was good luck. So Sarolt's homemade pasty. Sarolt. Wasn't there a really skinny guy there? That guy owns the place. I was a little heartbroken at these words. I was sure that some loser who worked there by the hour. But to be the owner of the store, big or small, was a fine example of a capitalist. Not only that, I was heartbroken to hear that I was eating his pasta. I mean, it was good. I taught him how to make those. The woman beamed with pride. Wait, if she taught him, then where did they know each other from? Don't tell me they used to be lovers. As I dreamed up juicy scenarios in my head, I stared vacantly at her face. She turned back to the television. Oh. About 26 minutes in, guys. I think that's enough. I think my hair's finally dried, so I can now do it. That's basically what I was doing. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate it like tons. Like, I got a pretty good response yesterday when I uploaded it, like about the same response as Honey Pop and like stuff like that. So yeah, and yeah, if you have any other suggestions of like anime themed games that you want me to play when I finish this one, just tell me in the comments. If you really enjoyed this, just leave a like, and yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you later. Hopefully my camera has not died by now, but yeah, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.